Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kickback. We recorded this episode on January 15th, and in this episode, we play a new game on the pod called Cup, Coach, or Club. Obviously, with cup competitions going on, with everything going on in terms of managerial hot seats, there's plenty of news to touch on. So we bounce around, choosing from one of those three options to hone in on the story. So much news to cover. We're so excited to be back. Episode 13 of season 3 of The Kickback is next. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Kickback. Patrick Miner, Jake Nakata-Miller, and Chris Wahman. Look at that. We can come back 1 week after, right when we said we would. We are back in 2026. Guys, it's an exciting time in the Premier League. Ton of, turnover, a lot of exciting results. So we're going to dive straight in and do something a little different on this podcast. It's the first time we've done it. It's a game we call Club, Cup, or Coach. And Pat and Jake and I will take turns just choosing from one of those topics and just running with it in terms of, obviously, again, a whole lot of cup games going on right now. So we can touch on that. If there is a coach that is particularly interesting, one in the job or maybe just lost it, you can touch on that. And then any club that's on your mind as well. So, Mr. Nakata-Miller, would you like to start us off with a club, a coach, or a cup?
I'm going to start with a coach.
Excellent. Picking up right where we left off. Love it.
And this is a tough one. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I kind of wanted to go in multiple directions. Maybe I'll tie it. Maybe
Do
I'll
it.
loop it
Yeah.
back around.
Like it.
But I know this is a Premier League podcast, but we have to talk about the dismissal or mutual parting away. I mean, it's tough to say, but Xabi Alonso is gone from Real Madrid.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I think this is a real reflection of like with the state of personality and what's important to club owners in club football at the highest level right now is that the managers, nobody's going to go to bat for them. If players are unhappy, if they have attitude issues, if they don't feel like you're the guy, it doesn't matter how much stick or winning that you've done in the past. It's
Right.
You're gonna get sacked, you're gonna get the axe. I know this team in particular has seemingly an attitude problem.
You
Mbappe,
don't say.
Bellingham, there's a lot of big
Oh,
personalities
really?
there. There was the honoring of the guard, right? For the
Yes.
Barcelona
Yep.
players, which was the
Super
friction
Cuppa.
point.
Yep.
Yep, at the Supercopa. And, you know, but other than that, it's really hard to justify letting him go. I mean, he had a pretty good record. You can't say outstanding given Real's historical performance, but especially since taking over, he's done a really good job. And he only had so long to, really implement his style on the league. So it'll be really interesting to see where he goes from here as well. So first off, I want to say I think Real will be, worse off in the short term. That's already shown itself in their their recent loss to what is it, Albacete, something along those lines. But
second tier side. Yeah.
That was
second tier
fluent.
side that's at risk of being relegated from the second tiers in the Spanish league.
Unreal.
So an absolutely incredible performance by them. But I think we've seen that. That's kind of a microcosm of what's happened across all the firings that have happened recently. I mean, all three of the big clubs who have recently suddenly sacked managers under pretty precarious and sudden circumstances, all three clubs have taken a nosedive seemingly since that's happened. So I think I I just hope it's a lesson, and I hope we can take Steve Cooper to Ruud Van Nistelrooy as last year's example we can use. Um, what's his name at Nottingham Forest this year as a perfect example? Sacking your
Nuno.
manager is
Nuno.
not
Yep.
Nuno, thank you. Um, is not always the answer, and in fact, in 24-25, to me, it's very much not the right answer. It's not a good move to make managerial changes out of emotion. They need to be done under, you
Right.
know, specific circumstances and with a lot more thought put behind them. Um, but it'll be interesting to see
Well
where
said.
Xabi Alonso goes for from here. There are a couple jobs. United is a very interesting one. I don't
I'll
think
take
he would
him.
take that. Of course, we would love him. But also, is it? I mean, to
Not our
continue
management.
the sudden manager change, could could Arnold Slot could Arn Slot be on the chopping block? I mean, Xabi Alonso is a
Ooh, nice
famous,
rhyme. Yeah.
celebrated Liverpool
Slot on the block.
um,
Slot on the
career
block.
there. Now that Slot's having a down year, supposedly, like, do you think that they would even entertain that? I don't. I mean, that would be absolutely insane, but who knows at this point?
Yeah.
You
No
know,
doubt. I
that's a
mean,
good
this is.
question.
Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say it's a really good question. It's fun to consider. I think you know, Xabi Alonso seems like a strategic guy. He's a tactician, obviously. It's hard to
Yep.
imagine that he'd be forced into a position where he takes a mid season opportunity, unless like the things are right. And I don't.
Hmm.
I feel like that'd be maybe a rush decision that he probably would be unlikely to step into. So I'm kind of thinking he'd probably hang out to the summer, but who knows? I mean,
Agreed. Agreed.
I thought Ruben Amorim was going to be like that, and he caved to the opportunity and took the Man U job halfway through when he said he didn't want that. So maybe Alonso would follow suit. But I tend to think that he's more of an individual that's going to want to plan out his next move, take a survey of the area, and then make a decision.
No, I agree. I agree. A lot of good stuff. I think that Chabi and Ruben both should have jobs. Should they want to get back into the fold. But I'm
Right.
with you in that I think it's, while not surprising for either of them because they're proud established managers, pretty disappointing that they got dismissed in the fashion that they did. And so I'm with you in that I don't expect them to just turn around and pick the next job that comes to them. I could see both of them taking a little time, waiting until the summer to see what pops up. But the other thing that I wanted to touch on is between Ruben, between Xabi, they both were hired on the back of tremendous success. Xabi Alonso with Leverkusen, Jake knows this very well from his kind of insight into the Bundesliga, but was an exceptional side that went undefeated. And so that was what really made him the next, up and coming hot young manager. Ruben had done terrific at Sporting. So it's not as if, they didn't have a track record of success. I think that there is a rush to be dominant or to be kind of the powerhouse that Real Madrid has perennially been, Man United has perennially been this season that I can't really explain. Where all the front offices, if they are not getting immediate results, then that manager is on the hot seat to go. And to Jake's point, the grass is not always greener. And Forest have finally stumbled upon Sean Dyche, who has a ton of experience in the EPL and looks like, particularly for them in a relegation battle, is just the man to call for that. So they figured it out, but it was not going to work when it didn't work when they appointed Ange Postecoglou. So it's just curious. And I also wonder, but before we get on to Pat's choice for club cup or coach, Jake, really quickly, do you think there's kind of a bleed over from American sports in terms of player empowerment that we're starting to see in football a little bit more? Because again, with the NBA, with the NFL, we're really familiar with coaches kind of at times, and there are exceptions. Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, they're great coaches within these sports, but the coach is kind of beholden to the whims and wishes of the star players. I haven't seen that so much in football until a little bit more, where players are more outspoken about their opinions on the coach. What do you think about that, man?
It's an interesting point. I do think some of that, especially in the league, I think that we're primarily thinking of in basketball, comes down to how much importance and weight singular players have on the influence of the outcomes of those certain games. So in basketball, you're obviously one of
Right.
five who are having the biggest
It's a great
impact on the
point.
game. So they obviously have a lot of stars who then gain a lot of influence over staffing decisions and have a lot of sway with that kind of thing.
Sure.
Soccer's kind of lagged behind from that perspective because there are 11 on the field. You're kind of sharing the burden
Yep.
of, or the spoils of wins and losses. But I do think, starting with, I mean, obviously we've had our legends in the game, but I do think starting around the time of Messi and Ronaldo, it does kind of feel like players have become brands of their own and kind of bigger than the clubs that they're at. I'm sure there are tons of people who follow Messi wherever he goes, people who follow Mbappe
It's a
wherever he
great
goes.
take. Yep.
So I do think a lot of players are now suddenly realized how much power they have and kind of swing it, especially when clubs are sacking managers every 2 years, like the likes of Chelsea and United and
Yes.
Real.
Right.
There's never time enough for a manager to establish themselves like a Ferguson. And so it's not like the players have to live in fear of expressing these opinions. It's like this motherfucker just
Right.
got here.
Right.
Like, I don't like you.
You're
See ya.
right.
It's that easy. So
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. I think that, with the turnover that these big clubs have, coupled with, to your point, these players are more. I think also with the more that the games are telecast in the US and the more that we're, consuming the game, the brand and stature of these players continues to grow, to where, to your point, I mean, why would they not feel empowered if the entire organization is in chaos and they're kind of the star? I mean, they know that the club, again, they can get rid of a coach, they can fire the directors. You can't fire a player. You can transfer him if you want to. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, Pat,
You
what are your
can.
thoughts? And then do you have a yeah, well, you could. Do you have a club coach or cup on your mind? What's on your mind, bud?
Oh yeah. First, I guess first of all, that's a really interesting conversation and topic. I just like the thinking about the power players have, or the power that's been granted to play. Like, I mean, obviously players need to have an influence, I think, and they have a role to play and a voice to have in all this discussion.
Right.
But it does seem a little bit outsized lately, in my opinion.
I agree.
At least with Real, I would say. And yeah, you wonder if like how much of it is due to, like you said, international viewership and maybe a more greater focus on revenue and money coming in. I don't know, it's tough. You're definitely right and hitting on. You guys are definitely right in hitting on the fact that we have a lot of like supporters now, because it's a worldwide like club model exists, that really just care about players rather than clubs in some scenarios. So I think that does
Yeah.
factor into it and makes your revenue stream maybe more volatile, which probably influences some of this. But not saying I like that, agree with it, but maybe that's a thought to chew on. And I guess to answer your question, club, cup, or coach. That's tough. I think where I'm going with this guy.
That whole answer before was a filibuster.
he sounded so decisive and then pulled back.
That's right. That's right.
To answer your question,
What
one
did I
must
learn
consider
that?
first.
One must first consider what is even a club or a coach.
What?
Yeah, I was
Or a
about
cup.
to say, Out of
Person
what is
must
a cup?
define
Out
to
of the classic
understand.
playbook from Pat. First, repeat the question.
Line.
Host say
Language
things
of
are really
origin,
correct.
please.
He's stalling. We've got him. I think if I wanted to like shout out like a singular I'm going to shout out like a coach or a club. I mean a club, I guess. What I'd say is
Okay.
I'm putting my focus towards Aston Villa, which
Ooh, okay.
yeah, I feel like they've it's not they had a little bit of shaky start to the season in some ways. The first half of the season, I guess it was obviously not poor because of where they're at. But I think they kind of fell out of the
Yep.
radar a lot of people. Emery's kind of got them humming in a good direction. I
Agreed.
think right now with 3 wins, a draw, and only 1 loss in the last 5. So I think they're in pretty decent form. And they've got a match coming
Yep.
up this weekend against Everton, which could really put them into second if they come away with a win. And City maybe drops points, which they've kind of been doing the last couple matches. So I think Villa's in an interesting position. It's obviously they're not in a position to like challenge for Arsenal right now. They're in a pretty good driver's seat. But if the Gunners were to slip up and drop some points, I mean, Emery is right there in the wings waiting, and I think it's just a testament to how they've kind of pulled together a lot of players and really had a solid. I mean, it's been a really great season for them, and it's really the results have really started to show through, and their placement in the top 3 right now is reflective of that. And I think it's an exciting moment, I think, for them. They got Ollie scoring a couple goals now, which has been a long
Yep.
due. And I think it's
Morgan
just been
Rogers has been balling.
yeah. It's been phenomenal seeing him play. And honestly, it's going to make England's World Cup like setup very interesting. How they're going to field
Agreed.
that. I mean, Cole Palmer's coming back into the conversation with
Right.
his time with Chelsea, but like
Foden. Yep.
yeah, they've got a really fun and unfortunate kind of
It's a
dilemma
good
for them to
problem.
work through.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
it really is. Honestly, I don't even know who you'd choose out of that. I mean, I feel like you'd almost have to give the nod to Morgan Rogers in that situation,
Agreed.
just because.
Just on form.
Yeah, but
It's
I mean,
tough though.
yeah. It's gonna be a really fun summer. Other than just the location and things are going on there, but it's like Villa's looking great. I think they're gonna be. I think they're not done with their streak right now, and I'm hoping. I obviously. Unless it's Manchester United, it's hard for me to have a preferred club to win. Oh no, but certainly having more like teams that are competing at the top for the title is exciting to me. And City aren't out of it yet, but they've had a stumbling block, and it's cool to see Villa actually pick up the pace a bit. Liverpool is there, but
Yeah.
more out of the question. So it's a shout out to Villa. The Villains deserve it, and I think that's it's really cool to see them actually competing even further up the table than they were last season.
No doubt, dude. It's been a remarkable turnaround, and I remember on the quarter report card, second annual quarter report card.
Second annual.
We that's right. We discussed how they had kind of a slow start, and it was disappointing, and Ollie really hadn't come out of the gates, and a
Yeah.
large part of it was probably due to how crushing their season ended last year, where on the last day of the season they missed out on Champions League again. In
When
Champions
there's so
League
many
last year, got
so
bounced
many
by
champions
PSG.
positions.
Right. And like, I'm with you, man. I think it's been an incredible story. Here's what I would throw back to you.
Okay.
What do you make of the connections or potential links? And again, from all that I've heard and what I know, for the remainder of the season, Carrick is going to be at the helm in Man U. And by the way, I think that's a good appointment. He's, a former player, well respected by the fans of the club. If if
Yeah.
if there was, you got to the end of the season and Carrick had done well, performed admirably, but
Yeah.
again, with the revolving door landscape, we never really know what's going to happen. Would you be interested in Unai? If you're Jason Wilcox, if you're Daniel Radcliffe, how great is that? Sir Jim, wow, Sir Jim Radcliffe. That's right.
That's a shout out to a
you
previous episode, I think.
do you reach out to Unai? Because I think that the reason that you wouldn't extend an offer to Emery if you're Man United, brass, the Wilcox, the Omar Barrett, all these guys, it's because the reason you got rid of Ruben is because he was headstrong and kind of wanted to run the show. Now, Villa has been very successful, but in terms of recruitment and everything, Unai is similar to Mikel in that he is a manager, really dictates how he wants the club to be run, and it's kind of on his terms.
Yeah. Dude.
Do you think he would fit at Man U?
I think he would fail at Manchester United currently. And I like him as a coach. I think he's tactical. I think he would, by fail, I mean, I think they'd fire him at some point. Like, and not like, it wouldn't be like a swan song. Like they'd be like, oh, thank you so much. You did a great job.
Sure.
We won stuff. You're on your way out. I think it'd be like, hey, it's not quite working out. We're gonna go a different direction. And the reason I say that is what you kind of alluded to just a minute ago. Oh, we're the best. I mean, in general, I've been browsing the interwebs, and I read a few comment or two
in the
on
restricted
Reddit.
section.
In the restricted, I read a few like the Jake 7 times. I read a comment on Reddit regarding the Alonso exit with Real, and it kind of got me thinking, and I really think is a good observation. And it's part of the reason why Jake's comment about Real Madrid and the Xabi Alonso sacking was, I think it's a really thoughtful and relevant observation to have. It's something people that are a fan of the sport should be considering. It's clubs, not all clubs, but some clubs have a tendency from their management structure to focus on, it's clear what their focus is, I guess what I'm trying to say. Is Real and United have a similar focus right now where they're really not, they don't care about a style, I would argue. They talk about oh, this is this is how Madrid is, or this is how United plays, or what we are. But they're not interested in developing something great in terms of a cohesive strategy or team or culture. They're just interested in an immediate success, which doesn't happen. They're that's luck based. It's they're gamblers addicted to some shit. It's they hope that they can just keep throwing money at this thing and hoping that some slot machine result, other than on a slot, will land them the jackpot of a trophy or a Premier League title. And it's there's more planning, more thought, more consistent decision making, I think, that goes into it. And Alonso is an example of a coach, I think, that has that planning, that has that vision about what his team is supposed to look like and how they're going to act. And Madrid was more concerned about how they're going to appease these superstars they have. They say they want the results. They do want the results, but they want the immediate results. And it's this hyperfixation on this immediate turnaround. And I think United are in a similar position where the higher levels of their management are inconsistent with their plan. And I mean, you look at the backing they were trying to give Amrin, and they oh god, I should know this guy's name. Asher, what's the guy they fired from Newcastle?
Dan Ashworth.
Dan Ashworth, thank you. Yikes. Yep. The fact that they put so much effort into chasing this guy down is part of this
they did
amazing strategy that we had. Yep. And they turn around and fire him a few months in because they're oh wait, we didn't really agree on what we're doing in the vision. It's what do you mean agree on the vision? This was your vision. You you said that this guy was critical and important to this vision, and it's like it just screams of like inconsistency and not really actually being committed to building something. And I think Unai is to bring it back to your question, and Unai Emery, I don't think he's an individual that is there for the quick turnaround to get a trophy or two and hop out. He's he's there to build something,
The project. You're
the
right.
project,
Yep.
and it's like that's what life is. Life's a project. You should try to build something out of it. And I don't think that Man U's leadership is at a point where they're ready to come to terms with that. So I think if they were to hire Unai, it'd be a mistake. It wouldn't be successful because they'd end up getting rid of him before he could actually implement and see meaningful progress. Or they just interpret the meaningful progress as a lack of trophies, like they did with Amram. And we'd be back in the same spot we are, less, few tens of, not a few tens of millions, but like hundreds of millions of pounds because we'd probably change out players and all sorts of things in that time frame. So, and then fire staff and then fire like our support staff saying we can't handle all this overhead for whatever reason. So um so yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I think Unai would not be he'd be great, but I don't think he would fit United until we have some greater change in how we're organizing ourselves. Um Nagelsmith is probably someone that they're gonna be more interested in because he's this young, flashy coach that everyone's like, "Ooh, he's exciting." I don't know if
Right.
that he'll actually come to fruition with some of the commitments he has to like the uh German national team through 26 with the World
Mhm.
Cup, but maybe something after that comes about. It's hard to say.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I think that you made a lot of good points about in the current landscape and structure at the club, it just wouldn't be conducive for someone who wants as much clout in an organization as Unai does, and who, in my
Mm.
opinion, by the way, deserves that because I think he has a track record as a manager at Villa. I know he didn't, we didn't hang with him, but Unai's a very good manager. He's a
I mean,
very, very good tactical manager.
your point about his like
Go ahead, yeah.
the cloud and controlling it. I mean, he's a super villain. You look at that guy; it's like he's not going to be a sidekick or like a grunt.
That's
This
right.
this
That's
dude's
right.
running the fucking joint
That's
at this
right.
point.
That's right. The big boss. The
He
final
doesn't.
boss.
I don't
No,
grease my hair back like this every day for no reason.
Well, Jake, what do you think about a character as big and prominent as Zunai potentially in the role? Again, the reports are that they're appointed Michael Carrick and will stick with him through the end of the campaign. Do you think that is a long-term solution, or does someone like Unai pique your interest?
No, yeah, I'm certainly interested in Unai, and I
Mm.
tend to agree somewhat with Pat in that I would be worried about the damage that this relationship would have both ways in terms of,
Yeah,
is
right.
this even really a smart move for Unai? I mean, he's probably better off staying with Villa, to be honest,
Right,
because United
right.
aren't gonna be willing to stay with a project. If we get a year and a half in and he's running a formation that people are starting to be critical of, you can bet your ass he's gonna be fired. And it doesn't matter. I mean, so let's say he gets United up to how high do they have to be for him to stay the manager? I guess would be the question, right? I
That's a
guess not.
great
First
question.
place.
That's a really good
And
question.
how talented do we think this roster is in terms of where should they finish?
That's
Where
$1 million. How high? Wow. I don't know.
um, I do not like the idea of sticking with Carrick. I think this club
Hmm.
needs a manager with established success in other places. Um,
Hmm.
Pat, you mentioned Nagelsmann. I think that's I think that's a highly possible and would
Yeah.
work perhaps better in terms of as a prospect for this position. I like Oliver Glasner. I think
Mm.
well
It's a good
established
shout.
manager who's done good results. He's done more with it than what's been given to him, and even
More with
after
less,
kind of
no doubt.
exactly more with less, and even despite losing lots of his talent via the transfer market. Which, if there's a motivator for you to try and leave and find a bigger club, I'm sure losing your two best players because your club's not interested in paying enough to keep them and is more interested in
Right.
making money and being a profitable club, that might be a good motivator for you to go out and so you look at it from that perspective. Does Unai want the job? If I were him, I would not encourage him to take that gig. I know it's a bigger club, but Villa's in a great spot as they are right now. And you move to United,
Yeah.
what's more likely, that he's there in 2 years or he's sacked within a year and a half? I mean, I would say the smart
No
money would be
question,
on
option B.
sacked. Yeah,
No
exactly.
doubt.
So my overall,
Interesting.
like, if you take anything away from my meandering rant for the last 3 minutes, it's that they need somebody who's established and is a proven winner elsewhere, and at the
That's fair.
top level as well. We don't need more Amarims. We don't need an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Rangnick, I mean, I'm gonna chalk up. I
Don't you
know
dare.
he did some good things to other places, but and
You bite
preferably
your
not a
tongue.
guy with the baggage that Mourinho had. If we can avoid that too, that'd be good as well.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting that obviously I think you make a lot of good points, and also to your point, there could be a different coaching crop that is available after the World Cup with Pochettino and Tuchel and these guys. So the pool widens a little bit there.
Tuchel would be interesting.
It would, and it's interesting to me that your point about having someone established and with proven track record of success, just because I feel like there's only kind of a handful of candidates that fit that description, one, and also I would admire it because it's a different path than Chelsea, and I mean, Arbeloa is tough. I'm not going to act like he's not, like, can't stand on his own 2 feet, but Liam Rosina, as sharp as he is, and I wish the best for him, does feel like a young upstart that Chelsea, ownership and Blueco can kind of have under their thumb. So I feel what you're saying in terms of, like, maybe if you get someone who's older and more established, they have kind of the clout and the gravitas to just stand on their own and deal with Wilcox and Barrera and Daniel. No, I won't do it again. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So yeah, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, we've hit a coach and a club. I'll get to mine and then we'll get into stoppage time. But mine is going to be the cup, the last option that we haven't selected. And
Yeah.
this sport is so unbelievably cool. And one of the most awesome stories that I've seen this football calendar was lowly little Macclesfield Town beating the holders Crystal Palace and knocking them out of the cup. This is just like why we love this sport, because if you watch the highlights of this game, I mean, to be honest, this stadium looks like college stadium. It looks like a high school ground. Like, it's so clear that the size and the scope of the club, and it just got started, and they knock out a Premier League side, the champion holders. I just think it's so neat. They were interviewing players afterwards, and the striker, their skipper who scored a goal for him, is a manager. He has a full-time job and plays for the club. Yeah. And so, like, that's just unbelievable, man. Like, only in this sport are they. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of got a March Madness feel to it, but cup games are just so exciting. And the question I would pose to you guys, because again, and I'll start with you, Pat, is I understand, and it's necessary for these larger sides to rotate, especially when they're playing cup matches,
Sure.
because there's so many games. Even with it's all about money. More and more fixtures we can get during the summer, so they're playing more games than they ever have. So you have to rotate. And shout out to Macclesfield Town, brilliant, brilliant performance. If you're a Premier League manager, how do you approach these games against lower league sides? Is it like a 50-50 split between like starters and rotation? Do you put out a
Mm.
whole new starting 11? What do you think is kind of the best balancing act for cup matches for these teams?
Yeah, that's tough. Maybe this reflects like if you have like a second, third string or bench players losing to a team like this in a cup competition, maybe it's reflective of the support that you have around those second and third string players, that you're not like giving them the right
Maybe,
attention, coaching,
yeah,
and uh, giving them right intensity or match fitness to be, or match sharpness to ready for these games, even if
experience,
it's
yeah,
against.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like we all know that if you're not get, I mean, it's the same thing. You see it all the time with national team selections. You'll see a great player gets injured, doesn't play for a while, or they get benched because the manager doesn't like them. And the international coach is like, "Hey, you have to be playing consistently. I don't care how good you are, you have to be playing consistently if you're gonna be considered for an international tournament
It's
of
a
World
good
Cup."
point.
And I kind of wonder, like,
Right.
maybe these are situations where like the team, like the clubs that are putting their second, third, bench players, reserves, whoever it might be, they're not getting the right match sharpness. It's not just necessarily a fitness question. It's consistently playing in these games so they're ready for it. So maybe that, maybe that's a question that comes to play. But I guess what round was this for the FA at this point? We're in the third round.
Third?
Yeah, third.
I think so.
So like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's tough 'cause at some point I'm kind of
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
mindset like I'm obviously not a manager at a high level, but I'm kind of the
No.
mindset if like the team that you're going to field for a cup competition, it can tweak and change, but I'm not going to wholesale swap out my team for let's say the consistent starting 11 that you're putting in um uh your domestic competition. There's some of that that goes
Right.
on
Your
towards the
league.
end,
Yep.
but like, hey, if it's almost kind of like a microcosm, right? If it's like a different subset of your players that are trying to push you towards this cup position, I think they deserve some mix and involvement throughout the entirety of it, regardless of how far you get. So um,
Right.
maybe it's a little naive or rose tinted kind of view of it, but I think that's fair. So
Think so?
I would never just go like a
Yeah.
full starting 11 if you're using a cup competition as to like build up experience for your other players. Like I would try and keep them as involved as you can to some degree throughout it, even as you get into deeper into the run. So yeah, maybe you get towards the end, get like a little
Hmm.
50-50, but with your primary starters, but I'd still try and keep those young guys in rotation, or the players that are maybe a little bit on the fringes, just so that they're getting some level of involvement, something to be a part of in that system, in that group. And I think long term that builds a better organization.
Well said. I agree. I think it's invaluable for young players or players who might be on the fringes. Excuse me, when they can't really get run, in a string of league games, to have the opportunity to still play, because they're professionals. They want to be out there, and to your point, ahead of a World Cup particularly, these players want the opportunity to showcase their talent. So a
100%.
Tuchel, a Pochettino can select them. But Jake, I think I want to hear your thoughts. But the other thing I wonder about is for Macclesfield Town, for like going back like a Grimsby Town, these are the biggest games they're going to play, certainly in the calendar year. But if they are on the right side of the result, the biggest game of their lives. And I do wonder if the stakes of it for the smaller club punching up at Goliath are different to where, you have to kind of take these games a little more cautiously than just saying, well, that team's, 3 leagues under us.
Right. Now, do you think that's a benefit or something that would make you play a little bit tighter? Probably a benefit, right? I mean, you've got nothing to lose. You're expected to be defeated. You just
Right.
play loose,
Yeah.
knowing that you get to take on. I mean, for these clubs, it's got to be absolutely massive, right? I mean, it's going to be so
Yeah,
exciting.
right.
They're going to be able to play against the likes of Palace and United. I mean, Macclesfield is so unknown that
It's unreal. Yeah.
if you're looking at results on Google for the FA Cup, it literally does not have an emblem for Macclesfield.
So rude,
It
man.
has an emblem for every single other club in the competition, but does not have an emblem for Macclesfield. They were just like, we'll never have to show a score on Google for this club ever.
Jesus.
The disrespect. But I liked a lot of what you guys said. I know Chris got choked up talking about, younger players getting an opportunity to play and develop in these fixtures. I think it's a great chance for these bigger clubs to rotate in folks. I think I want to say the obvious part out loud, which is that it definitely depends on what other comps you're involved in, right? Like
Well,
United,
yep,
for
great
example,
point.
have no excuse that they lost because they're only involved in domestic comps this year and the league, which showed in our loss because they had all their best players in nearly a starting 11, which has certainly changed now. We're playing Shea, who gets a red card, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think,
Well,
but
he's
for
young.
Inexperienced.
clubs like Liverpool or even Palace, I felt like, as great of a win as it was, Palace, I do think were pretty. That's a squad that's gotten smaller and been battered by European competition as well. And I'm not obviously nothing to take away
100%.
from Macclesfield. I mean, that's an amazing
No, you're
accomplishment.
right.
But the same can be said for
Palace is thin, really
for
thin.
the same can be said for Forest as well, right? Like that's just a squad that's been kind of battered this
Yeah.
year, and they got taken by Wrexham. So yeah, but it's just it's the best. You see it in Spain with the one we touched on earlier with Macclesfield,
Right.
with Wrexham. It really it's hard to say. It's hard to talk about moments that get better than that in a season when you get to see the David versus Goliath situation and see David triumph.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's such exciting matchups, and I'm curious to see who of the lower league sides kind of progresses the furthest. Who has the longest Cinderella run of these teams still in it. I'm excited. Excited. Should be a good tournament. Well, let's get into stoppage time, fellas. And Pat, do you want to kick us off? You have any picks? Pets?
Boy, do I.
I'm sorry. Pets picks.
Dude,
Thank
the
you,
official
thank
audio
you.
has to be in the works, right? We need to get a soundboard on deck.
And we need to get a button.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple matches I think are going to be important this weekend. Obviously, you have the Manchester Derby, which is hold on, it's plural. It's plural. I got picks. There's a stall. There's the Manchester Derby, obviously on Saturday morning, which will be a
Not even hiding
which will
it
be a
anymore.
huge game. It'll be fantastic to see what Michael Carrick can do against his longtime rivals, Man City. He knows the club. He knows the culture. He's got to get a win at this
That's
at
right.
home.
That's right.
City desperately want to keep the
Yeah.
pressure on Arsenal, so they're going to be looking for a win against the crosstown rivals, against their quiet neighbors. but they carry big stick. But I'd say like the game that I'm probably interested in Saturday is really going to be the Brentford Chelsea game. I mean, obviously a United
Yeah.
supporter, but the Brentford Chelsea game I think is going to be interesting. Brentford could be well within the
No
right to be
doubt.
in the top 4. Continue a pretty, for me,
100%.
surprising form and run this season. Chelsea have something to maybe gain
Yeah, me
from.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then Chelsea, I mean, Chelsea didn't look bad against
I had them
Arsenal.
relegated. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like they've maintained a good structure and form, and Chelsea have the opportunity to maybe try and get some of that
Yeah.
new manager bounce. Is it Rosenor? I'm still learning the pronunciation.
Yep.
They had a good game against
No, you're good.
Arsenal.
Liam Rosenia.
Oh,
They
really?
did. They
Wow,
did.
thank you for seeing you. Yeah, they had a good game against Arsenal, so I think that's something to be positive about. And they're obviously vying to stay in the top 4
No doubt.
European competition contention, and I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. That's
Agreed.
my pick.
Is that? Do you have it pulled up? Is that at the G Tech or is that at Stamford Bridge?
That's at Stamford. They're Chelsea are hosting, so
Okay.
could be a first Premier
That
League
should be
win
a
for a
really
new
good
manager.
game. Could be. And honestly, the one of the breakout stars of this season for me has been Igor Thiago. I'm honestly shocked at how good he's been for Brentford. Like, he's scored a decent amount of penalties, but like he is churned out goals at a pretty prolific rate this season. So that's a good call. That's an excellent addition of Pat's Picks. Well, Jake, what do you got, bub?
I mean, now I'm super hyped for the weekend. I mean, those are some great Pats
Let's go.
picks, right? I mean, those
That's right.
get the juices flowing. You still got it. The tales of your demise are greatly exaggerated. I don't know if those rumors. I don't know if they were getting around to you, but people were talking, bud. People were talking, but you still got it. So for the second week in a row, I'm just gonna go cede my time to Antoine Semenyo talk. The fact that City acquired,
Gosh.
in the Premier League, there are 3 players, the top 3 players who have had the most goal contributions this year for their club. It's Holland, who goes without saying, he's incredible, and he's going to be joined by the man we're discussing right now. In second place is Igor Thiago, who Chris just gave a shout out. He's been incredible this year. Third is Semenyo, who we also know has the ability to create for others too. This City offense is going to be something interesting. I mean, the one really curious thing about it is that Holland is a bit of I don't know if black hole is the correct term. I mean, he is a surprisingly good touch in terms of 1-2ing it with other people. So I'm not going to say he's a black hole in terms of you're never going to see the ball again, but he is a black hole in terms of like he is the point man when he is on the pitch. And so it'll be interesting seeing this other super, super effective scorer on the field with him and seeing how Pep is going to try and mix those 2 ingredients to come up with the best version of this. But I am, as somebody who does not support City, in fact, I root for their demise, I am very, very intrigued and interested in how this is going to work. And I'm kind of excited to just see great football being produced out of it. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Mhm.
Hopefully it takes a week or 2 to kick in. Not this weekend, ideally.
That's right. Well, as I'm glad you brought him up, dude, because as a podcaster, I think it's sensational that he chose City because I think under Pep and with the other attackers that they have, they're going to be must-see week in, week out. And to your point about, kind of the balancing act of Holland and these different attackers, in their League Cup semifinal against Semenyo scored his second match in a row. So I just think that they have an embarrassment of riches. And my stoppage time is just one, a shout out to Victor Gyökeres, who has struggled and had, again, I told you guys pre-pod, I thought his best performance of the year so far. But my larger point is an appreciation to, and I know it's, I'm a homer here, but an appreciation for just kind of the momentum and structure that we have at Arsenal currently for my Gunners, just because it, with what's going on at Real Madrid and different things like that, what I appreciate about it is it's not even, I obviously want for us to win, and that would be, the ideal. But again, I am terrified of Man City coming on as they have the past 4 or 5 years. But it is nice to kind of, have the structure that seemed to be harmonious and rowing in the same direction, to make a push. Just because between, Unai Emery and the different kind of phases of Arsenal post Wenger, I am genuinely grateful that we have a stable situation and a manager who hopefully will be here for a while again. If he gets no trophies this year, who knows? But with the way people are going, I don't know. But appreciate that, and ultimately appreciate the season that they've had so far. There's still a very long way to go, but it's been a fun season so far. Well, guys, another good one, and what a match week we have ahead of us. The Manchester Derby and Brentford Chelsea game. So much to look forward to, and we said it last week. We're hoping to go 2 for 2. We hope to be back next week. You never know, but that's the plan.
We're on the hat
Well
trick
done,
right
fellas.
I think we can do it, guys.
Yeah. Well done, fellas. Good job.
now. All right.
Cheers, boys.
So
Love you
long,
guys.
Good evening, good night.
Love you,
Whatever he
Peace out.
says. Bye.
Are like bad to mediocre. You know what I mean? Like if SNL musical guests, like it's such a fun stage for them to like perform on, and like why I love that you like keep watching it. And again, with like the 50th coming out last year and stuff, there is such a cool kind of like history and tradition and like place that it holds, and like sketch late night comedy that is just like iconic. Like I don't know, it's such a
Definitely.
special show, dude.
Yeah. It's like it's just a special like old thing that's just stands the test of time. Everybody in their current generation thinks it's the worst cast. I'm sure until they realize that like some people are really, really good. I do think it's been a little lower probably the last little bit, but